Picture this. You're minding your own business when suddenly police show up at your door and arrest you for a crime that you didn't commit. Why? Because facial recognition technology said that you were the culprit. Sounds like a sci-fi dystopia, right? Well, it's happening right now. Today, we're going to explore how facial recognition technology is shaping the justice system, for better and for worse. Welcome to Crash Course Courts and Technology. Facial recognition technology, or FRT, is an AI-powered tool that scans faces and compares them to images in a database. It's used everywhere, from unlocking your phone to airport security. But courts and law enforcement are also using it, and that's where things get messy. Since the early 2000s, law enforcement agencies have increasingly relied on FRT to identify suspects. Over half of American adults are a part of these databases, and you, without knowing it, are always part of a lineup. Police departments argue that this makes investigations faster and more efficient. But is that really the whole story? What does FRT do better than humans? FRT is able to scan through thousands of photos in seconds, a job that would take humans hours or even days. It's fast, it doesn't get tired, and it doesn't forget faces. And that's why some claim that it's a perfect tool for public safety. But is being fast the same as being fair? Is it always accurate? Not necessarily. Facial recognition is far from perfect. Studies, like those from the MIT Media Lab and the Perpetual Lineup Report, show that FRT is significantly less accurate when identifying people of color, especially Black and brown individuals. Black men and women, in particular, are up to 100 times more likely to be misidentified. And that's not great. Let's take the case of Robert Williams, a Black man wrongfully arrested in Michigan because an algorithm incorrectly matched his face to a crime scene photo. He spent 30 hours in custody for a crime that he did not commit, all because of a faulty match. Is this justice? Here's the deal. These systems are trained on flawed datasets, photos that are mostly of lighter-skinned individuals. So the AI learns to be really good at identifying some faces, but not so great with others. It's like teaching a parrot to repeat words, but the parrot doesn't understand what they mean. Criminal law shows how the U.S. criminal justice system often doesn't work the way people think it does. Decisions about who gets stopped, charged, or sentenced are heavily influenced by human judgment. That judgment isn't always fair. Race, class, and assumptions about who looks suspicious can all influence outcomes, even when the law is written to treat everyone the same. Now let's add facial recognition technology into the mix, technology that's supposed to be neutral, and you get a system that might look unbiased, but still ends up repeating all of the same mistakes and biases. If police plug bias info into the tech spits out biased results. So instead of taking politics or prejudice out of the courts, facial recognition could actually make those problems worse. For example, let's imagine a city where most of the arrests are happening in low-income Black neighborhoods. Not necessarily because there's just more crime happening there, but because that's where the police tend to look or choose to focus. Now that data gets fed into an algorithm. And that algorithm that powers facial recognition, that system learns to look for suspects in the same neighborhoods, on the same streets, and even starts flagging the same kinds of faces. So the tech keeps sending law enforcement back to the same communities again and again and again, even if the actual crime rate isn't necessarily higher there, and it becomes a feedback loop, bias in and bias out. And that's exactly the kind of thing that social scientists are warning about. This new tech doesn't challenge what we already know about inequality in the justice system. It just rebrands it. So how is this tech being used in courtrooms? Right now, facial recognition is mostly used during investigations, but it's slowly starting to creep into actual court and legal proceedings. Prosecutors will sometimes introduce FRT evidence, but here's the kicker. Defense attorneys often can't properly challenge it. Why? Because the algorithms are usually secret, and the outside companies that provide the algorithms and tech don't disclose much information about them. That means that the tech acts like a black box. There's no transparency and no accountability. So who wins and who loses and why? According to Laura Moy and the AI Now Institute, the losers are often people from marginalized communities who are already victims of injustice. These tools are supposed to be unbiased, but they often reflect the same racial biases already found in human decision making. Meanwhile, law enforcement agencies have another tool of power, often without much oversight. They would benefit, and so would prosecutors, but regular Americans like me and you lose. That means people of color are more likely to be targeted, misidentified, and wrongfully prosecuted because of both flawed tech and flawed systems. So where do we go from here? Scholars, advocates, including the authors of the Perpetual Lineup and the AI Now testimony, argue for regulation. Courts should require transparency, audit algorithms for bias, and limit FRT use in trials. This is not in place currently. Some jurisdictions have started pushing back and limiting the use of FRT. California, for example, has restricted FRT use in policing, but most states have not caught up. If we don't act, this tech could quietly reshape the justice system, and not in a good way. Think of it like this. Courts are already complicated, and justice has not always been carried out, especially in the case of minorities. Add biased text to the mix, and you're just turbocharging the problems that already exist. So to recap, facial recognition is changing how courts and cops work, but it's not neutral, it's not perfect, and it's definitely not bias-free. Instead of solving problems, it risks making old inequalities even worse. The good news? Social scientists, lawmakers, and yes, you, the public, can demand change and regulation for this kind of technology. Thanks for tuning in to Crash Course, Courts and Tech. Don't forget to stay informed, and see you next time.